Now, Andrew, you have 40 years' experience in the mining industry and now chair the peak representative body of the mining industry. You've worked in many parts of the world, including here at Gove, and are an advocate for sustainable development. What are the changes that you have seen in your time, and how is the industry responding to the issues that face it in mining the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples?
Thanks, Shelley. And this is a great opportunity to come back here. I first came here to work in 1989 and was here for 3.5 years. So I arrived 20 years after Klaus and inherited the accountability for the operations. It was a fantastic experience, particularly for me as a youngster working in Yolngu land, working with the local communities. I remember working with the Lanapoi Homelands group and meeting the elders. I worked with the Marawillis, the Munungars, the Marikas, the Unipingus, the Wannabes, and I also worked with the Jakeras, particularly in Yukala Business Enterprises. We learnt a lot. The company learnt a lot. It had gone from the construction phase, getting in, as Klaus said, getting on with what do we do here, what do we do there, how do we go about it. But under the Nabalco Mining Act, set up in '68, the company had an obligation to employ local people. That was all fine and said. When I arrived, they said, but we can't employ them because we work shifts, 8-hour shifts, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And these communities here have a culture that's very into ceremonial funerals and the like. So if we employ someone and someone dies in a community, they have to leave. So we can't employ them. And part of the way to get around this, to adapt what we were doing and provide employment and training, was, as Klaus mentioned, YBE, Yukala Business Enterprises. And that was a group who provided work, contract work to the organisation. And it had had its ups and downs. When I was here, there was a fantastic Jakera running the business, and he was very smart. He said he'd put the elders of the 13 clans as the board members, so that when they got up in the morning out at Yukala, they'd say, "You're supposed to be at work. What are you doing here?" And it was a way to get the commitment into Yukala Business Enterprises. The range of the projects, the activities, the contracts was vast. But in that process, very importantly, there was training that went with each of the jobs. And I remember there was Janet, who was the best bulldozer driver within that business, and she was so proud of it. And not only did she do the work around the outsides of the operations, underneath the conveyor belt and the like, but she would also be able to go out to the homelands and provide roads and earthworks and everything in those lands. It went further. If you've been to Yukala, you'll see this amazing football oval. When I arrived here, that football oval was on a hill like this, and there was an obvious end you'd prefer to kick to. The guys from the mine came to me and said, "Can we borrow the equipment for the weekend, because we want to fix up Yukala's oval? But more importantly, it's going to be the local guys who actually drive the equipment. And in doing that work, we'll supervise it, but in doing that work, they'll get a ticket, their ticket that they sign off that they met all the standards required to run that equipment." I said, obviously, yes. And off they went and did it. and they bulldozed out the side of the hill, stockpiled the topsoil, got in the grader, laser levelled it with a nice camber on it, put all the topsoil back. It's fantastic, and it's still there today. And around the outside of it, they put the spent tailings pipeline, which is about that diameter, on logs around it, all the way around, so you could sit there, but importantly, so no one could drive onto the oval and cut up the quality. I recommend, if you get the chance, go and see it. It still looks fantastic. So it was working with the communities. For me, it's understanding what are the needs, what are the aspirations, what are the desires, what's wanted, and what can we as the company do in collaboration to help affect the end results. Again, at the Lanapoi Homelands Group, I remember sitting there with the elders, the 13 elders, and it was all in Yolngu. I didn't understand it. I'm sorry, I've got contact lenses and the dust plays hell with them. But I was sitting there and they were talking about their business plan. Amazing. They had the 13 clans down one side, and then they had the categories: water, housing, roads, vehicles, schooling, airstrip. And they set them out and allocated priorities across the 13 homelands. And I'm sitting there thinking, we are so wrong. We tell them what they should have. We give them things that we think the clans should have. We haven't listened to them. We haven't worked with them. We haven't sat to understand and then to be able to collaborate. And that changed things for me totally, and the organisation, where we started to get in and listening and worked out what we could provide. And I think it's Australia-wide. We look at it and go, oh, we just throw money at it. Out to these remote things, we'll just allocate money. But it's not money, it's what's the end result. Some of it costs very little. Some of it can be in kind. Some of it may need funding. But I think that's, in terms of, for me, for the industry, the Minerals Council, these examples and experiences, and particularly through Rio, with their operations around Australia and elsewhere, it's these learnings that are so important. I also, when I was running Zinifex and MMG, we owned the Century Zinc mine in the Gulf country. That was totally different. We had 25% local Indigenous people working in the operations, and they did work shifts. Their culture was different, and they were able to do the shifts, and 25% of the employees, the best truck drivers, 250-tonne trucks, were the women, because they treated the trucks so well. The maintenance costs were lower. So again, it was this feedback of what are the interests of being able to get the training, having a ticket, they could go elsewhere, they could stay here, they could get the training, go to different jobs. That's, for me, is about what this industry can provide. And we do it right across, and through the Minerals Council, we share experiences, we share learnings, what worked, what hasn't worked, what do we need to do better, have the interactions. And I think the word is, it used to be engagement. You engage, you interact, yes, tick, done that. No, we've moved on from that. It's deeper. It's got to be collaboration. It's got to be working together in the learnings. And as I think, and this goes right across the world where I've worked, but I think here, coming to the end, exactly the issues Klaus raised. So we've had the facilities here, we've had the hospital, we've had the port, we've had the food supply and everything able to be justified to be brought in. We've got the airstrip. Importantly, with Gumaj Corporation, has demonstrated that the local communities can actually provide commercial services, and they can manage it themselves. They have the skills, they've got the training. We heard Michael Unipingu here the other day doing his MBA. Exactly. Self-determination, sustainable and local. But what are those businesses we can bring in here? I was up on top of the tailings dams looking at the rehabilitation. Tailings dam, for me, are the key part to any of these businesses. Not the operations, good technical stuff, but the tailings dam is the lasting thing that can't be carted away. So it has to be done well. But standing on top of it, I'm looking out there and seeing the port and ships coming in to be laden with bauxite. And I said to Jen, who showed me around, I said, are you taking the port down? And she said, oh, I'm not sure yet. And I said, a cruise liner coming in here would be fantastic. You've got the town, you've got the indigenous areas around here to be shown around. There's a real opportunity here for tourism as one of those things. And now, that's just me thinking. It's really, we've got to think outside the box. And with Klaus and with the Gumaj Corporation and the communities here, how do we keep this infrastructure going, justified? The power, the water, the roads, the airstrip, the hospital, the schools. How do we keep them going? And that's the challenge, I believe. And certainly through the Minerals Council, these are the sorts of things that in the industry we talk about and how to be able to do a better job. Let's face it, it's the mining industry who comes out to these regions and actually sits here, does the work on the ground, interacts with local communities, can provide infrastructure and assistance, and importantly, can sit and listen to what the real issues are and do something about it. It's not someone sitting in Canberra, it's probably not even sitting in Darwin, but it's the people who are on the ground here and spend their time and have the passion that can make that difference. Thank you.